Max Verstappen doesn't seem happy at all that his new teammate is going to be Tsunoda from Japan, but it's not for the reasons you might think. The Dutch driver is worried that this might not be the right choice for Tsunoda's career. He thinks it could actually hurt Tsunoda's career at Red Bull. But lots of people are saying good things about Tsunoda. Is Red Bull really confused about who should be the second driver next to Max? And who should they pick if Tsunoda doesn't do well? Things at Red Bull have changed a lot in the past few days, especially after the Chinese Grand Prix. Lawson came in 20th place in qualifying and didn't score any points, even though 3 other drivers got kicked out of the race ahead of him. It looks like the Austrian team decided they had enough. They had a meeting in Dubai instead of their usual headquarters in Milton Keynes. The meeting ended with them switching Tsunoda and Lawson right away, starting from the Japan race. That's what the reports say, even though the team hasn't said it's true yet. Sometimes when people don't say anything, that tells us more than words. Nobody from Red Bull came out to deny these strong claims. Now it seems like Verstappen is the driver the team needs to calm down because he doesn't agree with what the team decided. If you're wondering why this matters when Max is clearly the best driver on the track, the answer is simple. He doesn't want the team to spend time looking for a driver who can keep up with him. Instead, he wants them to focus on the car and make it easier for Tsunoda to understand. This is why Verstappen is worried that Tsunoda will have the same bad experience as Lawson. It's not about the driver and how they get used to the car, but about the car itself. The RB21 car has turned out to be really hard to control, like trying to tame a wild animal. Even worse, it's way slower than the McLaren cars. This shows that things aren't going to get better anytime soon without some real improvements to the car. Now there's pressure on Tsunoda to prove that he can back up all the talk and show that he's totally ready for this job, like he said in China. But if you ask Verstappen, he thinks firing Lawson after just 2 races was completely wrong. The New Zealand driver didn't really get a fair chance when talking about how Lawson might do better in the Racing Bulls team than in Red Bull. Verstappen hinted that the same thing might happen to Tsunoda too. This is because Tsunoda and Lawson were very close when they raced against each other last year, Verstappen said. I mean, the Racing Bulls drivers are doing really well. They're very close to me. Maybe that says something. Are we the 4th fastest team? That's how it feels to me. I think Liam Lawson would go faster in the Racing Bulls car. Our car is extremely difficult. If you look at the difference between the 2 drivers at other teams, they're all closer together. The Racing Bulls car is easier to drive than ours. I also noticed that when I talked to Liam last year, I didn't think the difference between him and Tsunoda was that big. Otherwise, the team wouldn't make the choice to put him in a Red Bull either. Horner didn't really like this and had his own things to say about whether Lawson would really do better in Racing Bulls or not. But no matter what, he and Marco agreed on one thing: the team shouldn't put themselves down in their statements, and they should always try for the best possible result, even though that seems impossible with all the problems they have right now. What's important to note here is that the team would definitely run out of options if Tsunoda fails to perform right away. The only other choice would be to promote Hud, who has the least experience out of all the other possible drivers. YUKI was trying to get a seat with Cadillac in 2026 because of how Red Bull treated him badly in the past couple of years. But now that he's finally gotten his promotion, it could either be really good for him or really bad, nothing in between. If he can keep up with Verstappen and find speed, despite the troublesome nature of that car, then Tsunoda will be able to continue his future with the Austrian team. But if he fails to do so, he's not only risking his career with Red Bull, but also the chance he might have had with Cadillac. The American team has 2 seats available, but there are lots of people who want them, including Bottas and Perez. They're eagerly waiting to prove that they're the experienced ones who will bring the team success. So Tsunoda really has just one shot to prove that he deserves a seat in this sport and in a team that's not called Racing Bulls. But the bad news for him is that he'll have to do it in a team that's known for being really tough on drivers, with Lawson being their latest victim. If we really look at how Lawson did in Red Bull, we're going to see a lot of problems. First of all, he only got a chance for 2 races, making it the shortest career of any Red Bull driver ever. Out of these 2 races, one was a sprint event and one was a wet race. To make things worse, Lawson drove in both of them for the first time in his career. Judging his performance based on only this is definitely wrong, even though qualifying 20th on pure speed in China twice is just not acceptable for a team that wants to compete for the championship. And this is what Verstappen is worried about for Tsunoda. The Japanese driver is a solid talent who has shown everything that's been asked of him in Racing Bulls. In Australia, he matched the highest qualifying position ever from a sister team of Red Bull, with Sainz getting 5th place with Toro Rosso back in 2016 in the same place in Melbourne. But as Verstappen said, the Racing Bulls car is much easier to drive, and this is the main reason why they don't have any problems understanding what their car can do. The report from F1 Insider says that Verstappen wants the engineers to focus on building a car with a front end that would be easier for other drivers to handle too. This is interesting because he's the one who loves having a really sensitive front end on the car. But at the end of the day, it's not a one-man team anymore. Even though Verstappen has scored 100% of the team's points in 2025 so far, Red Bull has shown they have integrity this time by not listening to Max's wishes. This might be because they understand he might not be there forever, and they shouldn't rely only on his feedback. It's likely that a situation like this is going to make Jos Verstappen say some spicy things. But if we look at things from a bigger picture, we can't help but notice that Tsunoda is now having the opportunity of his life. This is the promotion he's been waiting for so long, and now that he's gotten it, it's not like it's being handed to him easily. He'll have to deliver a really strong performance at his home race in Japan, and believe me when I say that's going to be really difficult, considering that he hasn't driven a single lap with the RB21 yet. Yes, he spent a lot of time in the RB20 during the post-season tire test at Pirelli, which is something that Horner praised him a lot for in terms of the feedback he gave to the engineers, but this version of the car has a lot of differences compared to the old one. The choice Red Bull made does raise some questions because if we look at how they develop their drivers, we can't help but notice a very weird pattern. Lawson was promoted with only 11 races of experience, mainly because of his experience in DTM and Super Formula, and he wasn't given a chance to prove himself at Suzuka, the race where he spent a lot of time competing in the latter championship. Now that he'll be more motivated than ever, I wouldn't be surprised if he outqualifies and outperforms Tsunoda on pure speed. Not just because he's really motivated to prove to Red Bull that they were wrong, but also because he has a much easier car to understand, one that he drove in 2023 and 2024. Even though the car has different characteristics now, the choice of drivers is something that Bernie Collins, the former Aston Martin F1 engineer, commented on. She said, "I think that Red Bull should have looked at the younger talent and said who has the most forward aero balance. That is what we believe the characteristics of the car are. It's very on thinnos, we would call it. That's very different from the Racing Bull's characteristics. So they should have looked at who is driving closest to that spectrum, as they are the ones who are going to succeed the most. They should have put all of them in an old Red Bull car for a day and said who can get the best lap time out of this car, because the Racing Bull's car is fundamentally different." With all of this in mind, do you think that Tsunoda is on a path to ruin his career in Red Bull and cost him a chance at Cadillac, a team that seems to be the only hope for him if the Red Bull project fails? And if so, do you think that it will prove the point that the Austrian team doesn't have a proper academy or cannot build a car suitable for any other drivers not named Max Verstappen? Let us know in the comments below, and once you do that, make sure to click on the video that's appearing on your screen right now.